throws it to the right team more often. So you're
what do you prefer?
Yeah, exactly. Like pick your poison. I don't know. You're spending like $3 million on your quarterback, and I don't know if you have a quarterback. I think it will be Jameis. I said with no confidence whatsoever.
Zero. Exactly.
Well, Demetrius, you commented, but it's your turn.
Yeah. So I think this for me is an interesting study of coaching, right? Is coaching really a thing? Is there, right? Because they've had him in the building for a year.
Yeah.
Right. They've had him in the building for a year. So if he comes out in the preseason and he's the same Jameis that as Clint so eloquently kind of tried to dance around it, has the propensity to throw the ball to the teams wearing the wrong jerseys, then I think it's a statement of coaching. And we like to say Sean Payton's one of the better ones to do this. I think the short answer, I agree with Clint, it's Jameis, because I'm just not a fan of the entire Taysom Hill experience. I don't get it. I don't profess to be the smartest dude in the room, certainly not in this room, but I think I know a little, and I don't get it. I've not gotten it at all. I think that Jameis, we don't question his athletic ability, like his arm talent. He's an NFL quarterback, right? Mm-hmm. You can question his progression skills, maybe reading defense. He makes decisions that don't make sense. Arm talent, the ability to play the position of quarterback, there's no comparison here. So if you're telling me that Jameis can understand when the safety is rotating, I guess I don't get it. So I think the right answer is Jameis. If coaching is a thing, it should be easy. Should be easy. You had him in the building for a year.
Bill?
Well, I mean, I don't want to cheat, but the real answer is C, all of you.
That's a good point.
I mean, I truly believe all the guys that you've mentioned will start games at some point. I'm just going to throw this out there, and I don't personally know Sean Payton at all. I've been watching him for quite some time. I watched him play in college. I watched him. In fact, I one time watched him his senior year play against Marty Mornhinweg's, I think, Montana team in the AA playoffs back.
Wow.
Oh yeah, I've been watching Sean Payton.
Bill's bringing nuggets. Bill's bringing nuggets tonight. Wow.
Oh yes. Oh, I have. Ask me anything about Sean Payton. He's 1-0 starter in his playing career. In his time as what was the character in the Replacements? Shane Falco. And his Shane Falco, he was 1-0 as an NFL starter. But yeah, ask me anything about Payton. But getting back to your question about this, he's going to do all kinds of funky, weird stuff.
Yeah.
Points, they will both be on the field at the same time. There will be, I promise you this. What is it? He used to say, hear me now, listen to me now, and hear me later. At some point, each of them will throw an attempted touchdown pass to the other. I promise you.
Yeah.
Listen,
right.
Watch. At some point, Taysom will throw a touchdown pass, or he's tried to Jameis, and at some point, Jameis will try and hopefully succeed at throwing one to Jason Moore. He's playing to get funky with it. Sean Payton, what does he love more than messing with people's minds? It's his favorite thing in the world. And as much as he loved Drew Brees, and he loved Drew Brees, I mean, like deep love, but he couldn't do all the weird stuff. Now he can do all the weird stuff, all the crazy things that are flowing through his mind. You're going to see silliness, right? So his whole thing is, I'm going to torment people. He's going to, at the end of each game, it's going to be, well, who's starting next week, Sean? Well, I have to look at all the stuff the coaches say. I have to look at the tape. Both guys have been practicing really well. I'm looking at matchups. It's going to be a nightmare playing against the Saints this year because he's going to do all kinds of wacky stuff. They're going to see snaps, both of them, lots of them. Mark my words.
Don, glad to have you in tonight.
Woo-hoo!
Wow, man, a lot of things happening down there in Dallas, but right now we're talking about Drew Brees and the Saints. Don, who starts your quarterback for the Saints next season?
Well, I don't think it'll be Taysom Hill. I think he is a role player. I don't think he's going to be the starter. They'll keep him to run his set of plays that he needs to. I really think the Saints might be in contention for some of these guys in the draft. I don't know what their draft, what pick they have, but if there's I would say they would take the best quarterback available after Trevor Lawrence, of course. So I think they go young. I think they draft one.
They might draft one, but who starts until then?
Well, it could be Hill. I don't think they will. But
tried to dodge that question on me, Don.
Hey, it's been a while since I've been on the show, so I'm ready.
So does Tyson start, or
I don't think so. I think he's. Unless he shows something in the preseason that he can, play a full 4 quarters. But he's good because he's always fresh. He doesn't get a lot of reps, but when he goes in there, he breaks destruction. But I seriously think they might go Jameis, but Jameis is not the long-term solution for that franchise. So I would say maybe they go with Jameis and then work in the new guy, and then Taysom Hill will be doing the thing he does so well.
Yeah, well, put your quarterback hats on tonight, guys, because this is what it's all about. Don, the Texans bring in Tyrod. He didn't. He got hurt last year, and then all of a sudden, this rookie named Herbert started, and now Tyrod is playing with the Texans. So, Don, what does that mean? Are the Texans thinking about trading, Deshaun? Is this a Jordan Love move, Texas style? What's up with that, Don?
I think Tyrod could go to the Texans. I think he could, restart his career. In his contract, and say, do not visit massage therapist. Do not drop your pants. I'm joking. But I mean,
and don't let a doctor put a needle in your chest.
There you go.
Right.
So,
I think Tyrod would be okay in Houston. Like I said, Houston took a bit of a, with the Deshaun situation, J.J. Watt's leaving town. So, they do have some, I guess, salary cap room to sign some players. But I think Tyrod would be okay. I mean, he's not the best quarterback in the league, but he's certainly not the worst. I mean, so I think he could be a good transitional player. And if he goes out and works hard and gets things done, he could wind up being a starter. But unless the Texans get back some of these receivers that they denied Deshaun, it's not going to be – it's a moot point anyway.
Clint,
everybody's catch the ball.
Yes, sir.
Your thoughts?
Well, a couple thoughts I guess I have. One, I know that it's been a rough year this past year. 2020 has been rough. Try being Tyrod Taylor. He's had a rough go. He thinks he's going to San Diego to be the man. Nope, you're not going to be the man. You're not even going to get on the field because your trainer punctures your lungs. So that's not good. I would assume that Houston brings him in emergency backup. Maybe Deshaun sits, doesn't want to play. Maybe Deshaun has legal issues. I guess we see how that all plays out. And they bring him in as, hey, if we have to, he's not going to wow you with his playmaking. He won't make the big mistake and kill you, though. I'm very close friends with a Buffalo Bills fan. He's like, I love Tyrod, except when I want him to throw the ball down the field. And then he hated his guts because he would never throw the ball down the field. So he's a safe backup kind of player. Side note to Deshaun Watson, and I'm just throwing this out there. I'm not a legal guy. I'm not a law guy. you might get an expert to defend your case specifically. And I'm looking at you, Robert Kraft. Because not only did he not get found, like he got like a public apology, he got like a parade, he got a hug from the mayor. It's all good if you're Robert Kraft. I'm just saying he might seek out Robert's help.
Demetrius.
Oh God, this is so great. So I'm always looking for, and you guys will get to know this about me, any chance to mention the Detroit Lions. So I have wormed away on this topic to say that I have not seen the Texans have given a master class in how to destroy a professional football organization.
Yes,
that title used to sit with my team for years, but my new general manager Brad Holmes has stacked a series of really good decisions. So your boy is optimistic, and the Texans just came and like at a wrestling event, snuck up from behind and took the title belt and ran away. The Texans have the belt now for that. They can have it. So all due respect to the fine, distinguished gentleman from Texas, this organization is killing me. They are. But what I think has happened now, despite them giving this master class in poor organization, this is called acceptance, in my opinion. This is where they're like, yeah, Deshaun's not going to play here. Whether it's legal or whatever, Deshaun's never going to suit up in a Houston Texans uniform again. This is them accepting it. We need somebody under center next year. Now, if they don't want to keep the title that they took from the Lions, you call Carolina and say, look, give us 8 and a bushel of number ones, and we'll give you Deshaun. Call Miami and say, give us Tua and the 3. And then you know what you can do at 3? You can draft probably anybody not named Lawrence or Wilson. You got a couple options there. I think if Nick Caserio has any value, you accept this and you signal to the world that the auction is about to start, and you go get as much as you can from him. That guy's never going to play for you again. It is clear. He's tried the millennial version by taking pictures and posting on a social media site in Miami with a bunch of Miami players. That's how in 2021 a player tells you, trade me to Miami. That's what he was saying. Carolina has I mean, if you want Bridgewater, get him in the deal. But they've got the 8th pick, and you could possibly get Trey Lance at 8. I don't know. Trey Lance might not get that far, but you can get Mac Jones at 8 if you like Mac Jones. So you can get to 8 for sure, because Carolina's open for business, especially for Deshaun Watson, because they think they're that player away. I think Miami will take the call at 3. This is acceptance. This is okay, guys. Let the bidding begin, and you take the best offer. You move Deshaun because everybody needs a fresh start. The massage therapists in the greater Houston area need a fresh start, apparently. I mean, I don't know anything, but everybody needs a fresh start. So my real feeling is that this is an indication that Houston's about to kick off the auction.
Bill, let's stay with the Detroit connection here. Are they going to cut him off at the knees or what?
What do you mean by cut him off at the knees? Exactly.
Well,
I want to make sure we're on the same page.
Deshaun off at the knees, or no?
Yeah, well, Demetrius says that Deshaun is never going to play again in the Houston uniform. So I mean, evidently, it's not ride or die. I don't know what you want. I guess it, like you said, let the bidding begin.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts here, and was just mentioned. First, there'll have to be some sort of resolution regarding what is going on or what might be going on with this case, right?
Right.
If there's something there, if there's fire to go with the smoke, no one can really make a deal. I mean, you can't deal for a guy that you don't know is going to even be available to you.
Right.
That's the first big question. I mean, nothing else can happen until that gets worked out. So that's the first thing that just jumps right in my face. Like that's a problem. Like that's a big old problem. And then I guess the next sort of obvious thing is once they figured that part out, like once you figure out if there's going to be the ability to sign this player because he's available to play, right? That's the first question. Then if indeed it turns out he's available to play and you can give a chance to sign him and you then do so, now you got to figure out how you can compensate. because unless they are just dumb as a box of hair, they're not going to take anything for it. And my understanding, unless things have changed, they're going to want somebody to back up the beep, beep. They're going to want multiple number ones and probably multiple other picks in the top 100 over a couple of different years. How many teams can conceivably do that? And a lot of the teams that could conceivably do that have sort of either removed themselves from the market or at least have backed off. Doesn't mean that they won't still make a move. I mean, people keep bringing up teams like Miami, and I'm not saying it's impossible, but have we gotten to the point where a guy gets 6 starts before he gets yanked? Is that where we are now? Is that where we are now in the NFL? Yeah. My God, think of all the guys that never would have happened if they got, judged off their first 6 starts. Phil Simms never happens. Troy Aikman never happens. Darn sure never happens. There's a long list of quarterbacks that weren't good after 6 starts. So I'm going to assume that's all just people saying things. I'm not going to put anything in that. I think Miami. I guess you have to always pick up the phone if Deshaun Watson might be available, but I don't think they want to empty out their franchise essentially. Because then what have you done? Right? The 49ers get mentioned a lot, but once again, how would they make it work? I don't think the Texans are like, oh, give us Garoppolo and a couple of picks. I mean, I hope that's not what they're doing, unless Bill O'Brien's back in the building somehow. So I'm going to assume that they're going to want everything, right? Okay, we'll start with Bosa, and then how about this, and then how about that? And no, you can hold on to Garoppolo. Thank you. So how many – I don't think people realize how hard it is to make a deal like that. If the Texans are even willing to make a deal, these are exceptionally difficult deals to make. This is why you don't see young franchise quarterbacks traded basically ever. I mean, I've been watching football a really long time, James, and you've been watching football a really long time. When franchise quarterbacks get dealt, it's usually when they've been through the washer a couple times, right? A couple of things have happened. I mean, Drew Brees was available because his arm was stuck like that. He literally put it down. If Drew Brees' arm moves, if he's able to brush his teeth or comb his hair, they're not moving on from him. So a lot has to happen, right? Something has to happen. And then you have to get back everything, right? Unless you get away by the deal, you just don't – you say thank you for your interest, but no. So despite all of the talk about it, I don't think it's going to happen. I hate to be a bummer or whatever, but I don't think people really realize how hard it is to make these things happen. It's not – I don't keep saying this, but it really is not Madden on franchise mode. It's a completely different thing. Like you can't – your kids, if you're wrong on this, you make a mistake of these things, your kids leave their friends, right? You have to sell your house. Like you can't – it's wrong. I don't need to be more clear about this. Blowing it with a franchise quarterback gets everybody fired. The security people get fired. The people the games get fired. The people who park cars get fired. Hot dog, you fire everybody if you blow it with a franchise quarterback. So if you move on from Deshaun Watson, you better get back everything.
Well, let's talk about the quarterback that they're keeping, or at least it seems that they are right now. We don't know because the Patriots might get in the mix with Deshaun Watson, but that's a topic for another time.
Yes. I don't know if they can.
They'd love to.
But let's talk about the Patriots. They spent, $146 million in 3 hours on 2 tight ends, a linebacker, and a wide receiver. Then they come back today and, they add a little bit to their defense. So let's stick with you here, Bill. The Patriots re-signed Cam. They upgrade with tight ends and linebackers and wide receivers. Do they make the playoffs next season?
Just call him Dollar Bill Belichick. invest in Bill coin while you still can. Buy the dips. So the point that we're all seeing is that here's what I think happened. He was probably getting coffee, whatever. He looked at his driver's license and realized I'm almost 70 years old. Oh my God. I don't have time to mess around. Well,
Hey, look. I'm tired of you picking on us guys 70 years old and older.
Right, but Jay, you don't have to try to win a Super Bowl in the next couple of years.
Don't let me have to go, Texas Houston style on you now.
I know what you're saying, but I'm just trying to make it clear. He wants another Super Bowl, and he realizes the clock is ticking louder than the one in the Edgar Allan Poe Telltale Clock short story. Like, it's all he can hear. And then what did he just watch the last time he turned on a TV, that had football on it? This guy, he knows fairly, right?
Throwing the
Lombardi. Now, I said something earlier about the pettiness of greatness, and I have all this on it. I won't go into it, but think of all the real greats: Kobe, Jordan, Ali, Belichick, Brady, all super petty. Jordan still isn't over every little slight that's into him. Brady can be woken out of a deep sleep at 3 o'clock in the morning and tell you every quarterback that was drafted ahead of him, how long their careers were, or short in some cases, right? It's embedded, right? He will know this till the day he dies. The true greats in so many fields are incredibly petty. If you think Bill Belichick isn't thinking every moment that I've got to win a Super Bowl without that SP, then you don't know Bill Belichick. You don't understand him at one bit. William Stephen Belichick Jr. is thinking right now about what else he can do. He is not done. I don't know who you think you're talking about here. So yes, people's like, oh, it's so out of character for the Patriots to do this. Well, things have changed. I mean, I don't know if people have noticed things. Like they used to be able to cover over a lot of things. It's like somehow, if you have a friend who's really good at fixing cars, but fixing them temporarily, you know what I mean? Like long enough to sell them or long enough to whatever, or, brace them or whatever it is, but it's a temporary fix, right? And then soon, right, that tranny's gonna blow. That right, that the engine's gonna blow. You throw a rod, right, oil everywhere, but you just need it to hold together long enough. And that's how they managed that franchise, knowing that at some point it was all gonna blow up, and then it did, right? Oil everywhere, right? Oh my God, there's a hole in the crankshaft. So what did he do? Now, he could have said, we could get a couple little parts here. No, he said, no. I'm buying a Lamborghini. That's what he said. I'm not messing around with this. No. How much money do we have? Spend it all. Spend all of it, right? This is a man who, like I said, he was buying coffee, Starbucks, whatever it is. He realized, oh my God, what? Right? And so they are the plan we had before, tear it up. We're not 3-year plan. No, we have a 3-month plan. In 3 months, I want a whole new team. And they're not done.
Demetrius, what's up here, man?
All right, so I'm gonna, because Bill forgot. You're supposed to start off every one of these by saying,
"Oh, my passionate white hot hatred." Thank you. I forgot.
I hate
about
the New
my
England
Patriots.
And so, with that in mind, I'm actually going to cede my time to the distinguished gentleman from Colorado. I don't want to talk about the Patriots.
That's how you show true hate.
That is
petty.
Just
in the spirit of
walking away.
pettiness, by the way. Right? We talked about being petty.
Well done.
I'll give my time. Yeah.
Well done. No, I can appreciate that. We hate the Patriots here as well. Statistically, you asked if they should make the playoffs again. Statistically, they should, right? I mean, looking at the AFC, I would say there's some spaces there they can maybe slide back in, and Belichick is as good as anyone. It's interesting that the Patriots went out in these moves, especially on the offensive side. They went out and tried to make Cam Newton's job easier. They went and got tight ends, big tight ends that can shield themselves, get the ball in traffic. Here is a plan where you don't have to throw the ball any further than like 10 or 15 yards. Here's the problem. I don't know if Cam can throw the ball 10 or 15 yards. I'm not even joking. Like, he looked so horrible last year. They're still hunting, right? They're looking for someone. They're gonna draft somebody or something. They're not, like you said, they're not done.
Don, you got to come and defend the senior citizens here, or what?
I can try, but I'm thinking, and Bill had a point. Belichick, it's probably eating at him that he needs a Super Bowl without Brady. Brady's thinking, I want one more in Tampa Bay just to, rub it in. But as far as Cam Newton goes, I think Cam Newton right now is no more than an insurance policy. I think they're going to go looking elsewhere for their quarterback again. This draft, you got, Lawrence, got Fields, you got a few others, but I just think that Cam Newton is he's on borrowed time. He's kind of gone that trajectory of, when Peyton Manning was, that last year, Peyton Manning, and me, I'm a Manning guy, but he was struggling with the ball. I mean, they had a great defense, they had a good running attack, but Peyton wasn't getting the ball as often as he should. There you go. I see that bobblehead.
Do the Patriots make the playoffs next season, Don?
I think they'll probably be a wild card. I don't think they're going to get. I think their chance of being a wild card are pretty good, and I think Belichick made some of the right moves, but he didn't make the move that he needs to make, and that's to go out and get a quarterback that's consistent.
Speaking of consistency, Don, I'm going to stay with you here. The Washington football team got Fitzmagic. They cut Alex Smith. I mean, well, maybe you can explain it to me, Don. They did get Chris Samuels today, a wide receiver. They had one, pretty good one already, McLaren. But what does Fitzmagic do for the Washington football team, Don?
Well, I think what they want him to do and what he's actually going to do are two different animals. I do like Curtis Samuel going there. He's been very consistent, but Fitzmagic, I don't know. I guess it could be worse, but what Washington. They need some breaks to go their way, and I don't think they created their break with that particular move.
Clint?
Yes, sir.
What's your thought on Fitzmagic? Is he going to bring the magic to Washington? Well, come on, Washington football team. Jesus. What is that? Dunkin' Donut? Anyway, go ahead.
In his own way, he'll bring magic. He'll bring the magic that he usually does. Really good in week 1 and a little less good in week 2 and then a little worse in week 3. And by week 5, you want to kill him. I like some of what Washington's done. They get Samuel, they get Fitz, they keep Brandon Scherf. That's nice. They go get William Jackson, get another corner. That's kind of a nice thing. Riverboat Ron is doing in Washington exactly what he did in Carolina. He's building a tough defense. He's turning that franchise into a contender before eventually driving everyone crazy by going for it all the time in low percentage situations and losing big games. What I'm saying is enjoy the ride while it lasts, because this is probably about as good as it gets.
Yep.
WFT, what's your thoughts, Demetrius?
So I think that the answer to your question is one word. It's time, right? Ultimately, this is not the solution, right? We see a bunch of 1 year, $10 to $12 million quarterback deals for a reason. The cap went down, new TV deal signed. There's money coming later. So everybody's trying to be smart with these deals. I love what Clint said about starting off as Fitzmagic. By week 5, it's Fitztragic. And you're just we know what he is. He will probably be their starting quarterback. But again, Rivera is not trying to fool anyone. He's going to try and build one of the best defenses, because winning Super Bowls, and you look at 55 of them, whatever they are, there's two things. The champions have one of two things. They have a Hall of Fame level quarterback playing at a Hall of Fame level, or maybe a guy who's good, a Mark Rippon back in that year played at that level, even if he doesn't go to Hall of Fame. Or you have a world-class defense. You got 2,000 Ravens, you got 85 Bears, you got a defense that can cover up the shortcomings of that quarterback. Rivera is going for option 2. So he figures if he can, between Heineke and Kyle Allen and Fitzmagic, piecemeal together guys that won't lose them games, his defense will literally win them games. And it's not a horrible concept if you can't get a quarterback. And you're at 19, and the top 4 guys are definitely not there. Maybe Mac Jones drops to you. I doubt it. Do you take Kyle Trask at 19? I don't think so. So he's looking at the landscape and saying, I can't solve my quarterback situation long-term right now. So what I need to do is to get a guy who'll give me 5 or 6 games, and we will piecemeal this together and let my defense carry me. And it has worked. So it's not horrible until he starts making game decisions, like Clint said, and then it's all going to go awry. But they're in the worst division in football, so you got a shot, right? At the end of the day, they're going to play a home playoff game, most likely, with Ryan Fitzpatrick as the starting quarterback. In my opinion, they will. So,
Bill,
which part did you want to ask? Are you asking, will Ryan Fitzpatrick play well? Or are you asking, will he play poorly? The answer is yes. I mean, I wasn't sure what you wanted me to tell you. I've been watching this man. So first of all, let me say I am a huge fan of his. I've been watching him literally since his high school days. He was a terrific athlete. He was a 5-sport athlete. You don't see that very often, right? So he was on the baseball, football, basketball, golf, and I think maybe tennis. I can't remember what the other sport was, but like he was a 5-sport athlete, terrific all-around athlete. Goes to Harvard and is a killing machine. His Harvard tape is awesome, and he's a guy that's a 7th-round pick, fights his way into the league, is now one team away from, well, it depends on how you count it. Either he or JT O'Sullivan, because JT was a lot of times like inactive, like he never played for a lot of these teams, but he will catch JT O'Sullivan the next time he plays for another team, like not this team, but the next team after this. So he will be, yes, JT O'Sullivan holds the record, but he didn't really play. So he will have played for all the teams. Fitzpatrick, for all the teams he's been on, has played at least, I think, 3 games or more, with every team he's played for, and has played almost a whole season for a lot of these teams. So he's going to his 10th team, and once he starts a game, I'm going to basically do like some people do with the home run record. I'm going to give it to him. JT O'Sullivan, was on, 13 franchises if you want to count like NFL Europe and NFL, but if we're just talking about NFL, 11 NFL teams, but he played for like, he was mostly just deep people on the bench. He's had an amazing career. He's made something like 80 or 70 something $million. He still is having fun. Like he's having like at Favre level fun. Like if they just graded quarterbacks how much fun they have playing, he might be the top quarterback in the league. He is having a ball. He really is. He knows he's playing with the house's money, which is why he goes out there and throws YOLO balls. Because this ride's gonna end sometime. I'm gonna have as much fun as I can. I think I might go get that ball there. Guy's tearing my head off. Whatever, I'll throw the ball. Let's see what happens, right? His highlights are, if you only watch his highlights, you think you're looking at a surefire Hall of Famer. Now, unfortunately, if you look at the rest of his tape, it's like, oh, that's why he's not a surefire Hall of Famer. But if you just watch the best Brian Fitzpatrick, you would think we were looking at like a guy who was a top 5 quarterback for his whole career. But it's the other place. He is one of the most exciting quarterbacks, even now, in the game, right? Because he's fearless. Now, people say that like it's a great thing, James, but what's the thing that you got told by your top sergeant probably many, many years ago. There are old soldiers and there are bold soldiers, but there are no old bold soldiers.
Exactly.
So when you're a quarterback and you're a bold quarterback, he's an old quarterback and a bold quarterback, but he doesn't get to be an old bold starting quarterback for too long because that combination doesn't mesh permanently.
And he's still going to make $10 to $12 million this year.
Because he
For the record,
should.
guys, he's going to make between
just for the
10 and
fun
12
factor.
million dollars.
Just for the fun.
Guys, we have to leave football for a minute. We got Jeffrey in here, so we're going to talk a little March Madness. Maybe Jeffrey can tell us why Duke and Kentucky hasn't made it's been 47 years, almost half my lifetime. Geez. Anyway, Jeffrey, what's going on today, my man? Jeffrey.
Oh, no, Jeffrey. Do we
Jeffrey
insult the ACC to get him to talk? If we start bad mouthing the ACC, will he say something? Oh.
Hey, I'm just in Wichita State, and Drake played a really fun game. And if that's the way the NCAA tournament's going to be for the next 3 weeks, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Nice.
Without Duke and Kentucky, right?
Yep. Did you all hear me?
No, we
caught the end. Yeah, we just caught the end.
Would you like to restate the first part of what you said?
We could
guess, maybe.
Jeffrey.
Nope. We needed Jeffrey because I don't got a lot on the ACC. The Big Ten's better. The Big Ten's a better league, is all I got to say. And the Big 12 is.
Yes, sir.
That's it. Well, I'm not taking a shot at him, but I don't even know why we're talking ACC. One of the two best, right? I haven't met Jeffrey yet. That exactly. That might not have been cool.
I
don't know. Jeffrey might be in stealth mood. He's still.
It wasn't a vintage year. I think
there you go. Intimidated it.
That's fair. It wasn't a vintage year for the ACC. It's time to let someone else win a title for.
Oh wow, that's a good comeback. They're gonna let somebody else win. Okay.
They did it to Villanova, so they might as well let somebody else win it again, I guess.
Well, wait, hold it, Don. You're in a position that you haven't been in years. You want to talk about that Texas team?
Sure. So my Horns did okay. Shaka Smart in years past, he always starts off strong. He beats the top teams in the first month of the season. And then he starts losing to people like TCU, Iowa State, Rice, whoever. And then the year just goes bad. I mean, the guys, they never really develop that chemistry. But yet when the NBA draft comes, there's always a Texas guy being drafted, sometimes two.
Yeah.
And it's big head scratcher for us down here in Texas. Why can't Shaka Smart, replicate that success that Pender's had? Well, this year, Shaka Smart started strong, as usual. Was up to, I think, number 3 or 4 in the nation. And then he kind of started losing again. And he dropped down to like 18, 19 in the country. Well, then he finished strong, which is something we haven't seen the Shaka Smart team do. He finished strong. He went undefeated in the tournament. Granted that Kansas had COVID and they couldn't play, but they beat Tech in the round, and Tech has played good basketball lately. So I'm cautiously optimistic that Shaka Smart and the Horns will have a better. I see them possibly getting the Sweet 16. They got to play Abilene Christian and get by BYU, and then there you are. Just let me give a shout out real quick to a guy named Brock Cunningham. He comes off the bench for Texas. His dad and I played ball together at in Austin. He was an offensive lineman, and we used to go head-to-head in practices. His name's Ed Cunningham. He's a high-priced, high-powered attorney there in Austin now. So
cool.
His son Brock is playing. So if you get a chance to watch, look for Brock Cunningham. He went to Austin Westlake, which is the same school that gave us Drew Brees, Sam Mellinger, and Nick Knowles. So hook him.
I think I might even have Texas in my Elite Eight. I'm not sure, but anyway,
I think they have to get past. I gotta look at the bracket. I think maybe they have to get past Illinois and the BYU.
BYU.
You assume BYU. BYU might not be there.
Yeah,
BYU has a game before that. I'm not going to say who they're playing. You can probably guess. You can probably guess.
They're going to
Clint.
Yes.
This is not a Patriots question, Clint. What's your thought from your neck of the woods there?
Well, we've actually got a team in the tournament this year, so we're just all kind of stunned because that's been a while. Colorado somehow got in. Tad Boyle has done best coaching job I've seen him do since he's been up there, and we all know Tad because Tad's a old Colorado high school coach, so we all know Tad and follow that program closely. He's done a really nice job. He's got a pretty tough squad. I don't know if they can shoot it well enough, but they're actually in. And the problem for them is they're going to be facing a really tough Georgetown team that is red hot right now, so that might be a problem. Going back to Texas and just talking Texas, it has taken a minute for Shaka Smart to kind of get that program going. Shaka has taken a minute. Remember, he was on the hot seat a little bit at the beginning of the year, but regardless of how Texas does, I don't know if they can shoot it well enough. We'll see, but somewhere Steve Sarkisian is watching all this and going, I'm not going to get 5 or 6 years like Shaka did, am I? You better start winning now because you're not going to get that long leash that Shaka got because Steve's going to have to win in a year, and that might be pushing it.
Yeah,
because they're not going to be real patient on the football side of things. So
different expectation.
Yeah.
Well, Demetrius, I know you've been waiting patiently. I see your Michigan State there. We have Illinois as a top seed, number 1. We also have Michigan as a top seed, number 1. Like you said, Michigan State got a few very good Big Ten representation there.
Oh yeah,
I kind of miss Frank, but your thoughts?
So yeah, I don't even think it's homerism or arrogance to say it's the best league in the country. The reality is, in my opinion, there's 2 teams that are on a different level than everybody else. But as a league, I think with Michigan, with Illinois, Ohio State, we are playing a lot better in the last 5-6 games, and we still have Tom Izzo as our head coach. Yeah. So my feeling is we always have a shot because my thought on him is what he's best at is prepping his team to play a game in one day. And that's what happens on the second game of the tournament. If you know your schedule and you know who you're playing 6 days from now, you can do a lot of work. If you play and you find out, okay, in 40 hours, we got to play this team we've never played before, Tom Izzo's the best at getting his team ready. Now, the reality is our best player is playing his best basketball right now. And that's what this tournament is about. I don't have us in the Final Four or anything like that. That's crazy. I think, though, that shockingly, I like Colorado, maybe more than Clint does. I think that's a good basketball team. I think that's a good basketball team. But the Big Ten brings legitimately 3 teams that I think have Final Four opportunity. 2 of them I have in the Final Four, Michigan and Illinois. Michigan lost Isaiah Livers, their best player. I actually believe Illinois is a Final Four team right now. And I think the best game we're going to see in this tournament is going to be a Final Four game between Illinois and Baylor. Because I think there's going to be like 5 NBA players on the floor, and it is going to be that's my prediction. I have them both in the Final Four. The semifinal game, Final Four Saturday, Baylor, Illinois, is although Georgetown, Colorado in a couple of days is going to be a good game too. Illinois has legit NBA players, 2 of them for sure. A third one that if he comes back and grows can be. They're real and they're well coached. So I can't legitimately say positive things about that school in Ann Arbor. So Illinois is my pick to go to the Final Four. I mean, I don't have to say anything good. I don't say anything bad. They're missing a really good player is the point. If they weren't missing Isaiah Livers, I might talk about them differently. Illinois is quietly legit. They have NBA players on that team. Yep. And I don't know if people realize how tough this league was. And I think they're sleeping on Illinois because the league is tough. And we beat them. We played our best game to beat them. In that league, people beat each other. We beat Ohio State, Michigan, and Illinois. And we squeaked in an 11 seed. Right? That's how tough that league is. And I think the league makes you ready for the tournament. The games you were playing day in, day out throughout the season prepares you for this event like nothing else. And I still think Gonzaga and Baylor are the class of this tournament, but there's legitimate three, homering, I can say four, team of the Big Ten that I think I wouldn't want to face any of those guys on a given night. But Illinois is my top choice coming out of the Big Ten.
Bill.
Yes.
Your thoughts on March Madness, the Big Ten, or whoever you might have, you might want to talk about Baylor.
I will well, Baylor is actually one of the teams. I've done more than one bracket, but the two teams I have winning it all are either Baylor or Gonzaga. Baylor is also a team that could get knocked out early. Like they scare me a little bit because they have a little volatility, but they're loaded. Oh, looks like Jeffrey needs to cut out soon. So no, it's Don. Sorry, wrong person. Sorry, never mind. I was about to shut up. But I will wrap quickly. ILLINI, and yes, they have two definite NBA types, and sneakily, I can see Andres Feliz maybe either being picked up late or even as an undrafted free agent.
Agree.
And one of those guys, he's that glue guy. He's the 8th or 9th guy off the bench and has a nice little run. And they've got young guys that, as you pointed out, could grow. But Kofi Colbert is a guy that not too many people will soon know about. Yep. Obviously, Big Ten fans know. He's not Shaq. Like, people who have been trying to compare him to Shaq are going a little bit crazy. But he's an explosive big body who may be the physically strongest basketball player we have in college basketball right now. Mm-hmm. But he's not, Shaq used to sometimes lead the break. I mean, he's not that. But, man, no one can handle him. Like, he's – if he really knew what he was doing, he'd be averaging 20-something points instead of 13 or whatever he's averaging if he just knew what he was doing. He's super raw, but my God, when he's active and effective and focused, he can take over a game. He can literally take over a game. And he's not their best player because his skill level isn't where it should be. Dosunmu is still the best player, and I've watched him since high school. He went to Morgan Park right here on 110th Street. And, obviously the powerhouse on the south side of Chicago for forever was Simeon. And so when he got to Morgan Park, things got a little heated because normally Morgan Park was like, just trying to get out without getting beat up too bad. And now they were a real threat against Simeon, which is a powerhouse program and has been for, 50 years probably. I mean, Benji Wilson, the late, and obviously most people know about, there's a long list. Nick Anderson, there's a long list of Simeon guys. But when he came to Morgan Park, it shifted the power balance in Chicago high school basketball. He's that good. And he's got a little, like a mini Penny Hardaway kind of thing to him. He does. Not quite as long, not quite as strong, but like similar all court, could play 2 or 3 positions, could defend 2 or 3 positions, kind of play. They're a dangerous team. Baylor scares me a little bit, but they can beat anybody when they're right. I'm going to throw out one other team that could beat anybody but actually they don't have to be right. One guy has to be right. Oklahoma State. Yeah. When Cade Cunningham, he goes into I can't miss mode sometimes. And when he's in I can't miss mode, it doesn't matter who the other team is. It doesn't matter if his teammates are playing all that well. Yeah. He can just get into a zone where he's doing, stuff that people shouldn't be, like Ray Allen in his prime. People forget how good Ray Allen was.
Yeah.
When Ray Allen in his prime, people forget Ray Allen. Prime Ray Allen was nasty.
Yeah.
And he's not quite as explosive, but a bigger version who, once again, just gets in that zone where, he just can't miss.
Yeah.
So that's a team to watch out for. He could just get hot, and he could have 4 back-to-back games where he scores 40-something points. He's capable of that.
Yeah, Baylor found that out.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Don, did they say that you had to go soon, or?
Yeah, I have turned in some progress reports, and I had the baseball game tonight. But we didn't have a JV team. We just had the varsity, so I was able to get in early. But I still got to do those progress reports, or got to take care of jobs. So
Absolutely.
Well, give us your final thoughts if you want to talk about March Madness, if you want to talk about all that money that they gave Dak and still won't make the play. I mean, excuse me.
Slip that in. Slip that.
Go ahead, Don.
I'm going to try to keep this under 2 minutes. So that's easily done. I think Dak will be just fine where he's at. That's, to me, that's a good investment. I don't usually say that about Jerry Jones, but I think keeping Dak is a good investment. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the Deshaun Watson situation. We kind of giggle and laugh about, the whole massage parlor, sexual assault, whatever. However, I will say this. If these women are lying, they should suffer the same punishment that Deshaun Watson's facing. I'm tired of, I'm all for the justice system. Let the wheels of justice progress. But when you're an athlete, professional athlete, you're making all that money, you become a big target. And even high school athletes, I've seen it. There's been situations where a guy ends up in prison for, 8 or 9 years, and the girl comes out and says, "Oh, I was lying. He didn't really rape me." And the guy had a promising college career. So, I'm not passing judgment. Wait and see. But if they're lying, they should be punished, because that's I'm tired of young men being targeted for stuff just because they have a huge bank account. So that's my final thought. It's good seeing y'all. Hopefully I got games all the way up until Good Friday, so I may not be back till after Easter. But if we get some more JV games canceled, I'll at least be on for a little while.
All right. Good seeing you, Don.
Right,
Thanks, Don. Yeah.
God bless.
Jeffrey, can you hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear you guys. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, we can.
All right, good to go.
All right. Jeffrey, Rick Pitino, he's back. Rick, what's your thoughts there, Jeffrey? I mean, a couple of years ago, Rick was in the scandal. I mean, hey, Rick, one thing you have to say about Rick, he's a great basketball coach, and his teams are prepared. Should we look for an upset for Iona?
I mean, there's one thing there's no doubt about when you see Rick Pitino. I mean, the guy can coach. He took Providence to the Final Four, Kentucky. I was actually at the game when he won the national championship with Louisville. And I mean, if you can deal with the baggage that seems to eventually come up with him, I mean, he's going to win you a lot of basketball games. I mean, I think the thing with Iona is they've had a little bit of a history before, some success in the tournament. But yeah, I mean, with him there, I mean, they certainly have a shot to pull an upset in the first round. He's a great coach. If you could deal with the baggage though, but he'll definitely win you some basketball games.
Clint, you willing to accept the baggage to get a national title?
Well, I don't know if I am. don't know if I am, but I mean, I get it. Pitino is one of the all-time greats. And if we talked about all-time great collegiate basketball coaches, we throw out the same names every time, but Pitino's in that group. I mean, he is that good. When you think of a team that ran to the three-point line and pressured you all over the floor, he was doing that back in the 80s with Providence. I mean, that's crazy. He was so far ahead of his time with what he was doing back there. And he's done it everywhere he goes. Like you said, there's baggage. And I don't want to go to an Italian restaurant and order the pasta prematura if Rick is there. But I mean, he is phenomenal wherever he goes. The problem for Iona is they're running into an Alabama team that can score points.
Exactly.
They can put up points in bunches. He's going to have his hands full to get by this first rounder, but Pitino's phenomenal. I'll believe it when I see it, when he says he wants to stay at Iona. He says he's staying and they took care of him, so he's going to stay. I don't know if I'm buying all that. But I guess if you are, I have some oceanfront property in Denver to sell you. But I mean, the job that he does year in, year out, he has his teams ready and they will come out and they'll compete with Alabama. I just don't know if they can beat him.
Demetrius?
No. I think piggybacking on a number of things. First, it's cute story, right? Which the NCAA tournament is all about the cute stories. They're about to hit a buzzsaw, and it's nobody's fault. Nobody's to blame. The Mid-Atlantic Conference, whatever it is. Sorry, you guys can help me. The MAAC, I believe, is where they are. That's cute. That's cute. Yeah, they're about to run into a buzzsaw. But I don't disagree that Rick Pitino's a fantastic coach. In fact, I'm going to go out on a limb, which I don't think is much of a limb. Still think he's getting the Indiana job. I think he said a bunch of crap today about Brad Stevens would be great for that job, unless he wants the Boston job. If that's his move, get Brad out of Boston so he can go back to Boston. But I believe Pitino will. That's what you're supposed to say. When you're as savvy as Pitino, you come out and you throw some other guy's name on the Indiana job so you don't look like, you're doing a Nick Saban, right? So it's I still think he'll be the Indiana head coach in a couple of weeks. I think the Iona thing is cute. It does speak to he can go anywhere and win because he literally has. He literally has gone everywhere and won. So he knows how to coach basketball. And when you're Indiana and you have this overinflated sense of striped pants and all that other nonsense, you would be lucky to get Rick Pitino at this point if you were willing. Like, what's coming. You know what's coming with it. I think Jeffrey said it earlier. You know what's coming. So if you want to win basketball games, you go hire him and you don't deal with the rest of that. Because it's going to take a Bill Carroll Brinks truck to get Brad Stevens out of Boston. Yeah, because NBA money is different than college money. As great as college money is, that NBA money is not a joke. And so I think Rick is great in college. I didn't think he loved dealing with grown men. I think he's great dealing with college kids. He's one of the best to ever do it. And I think it's probably a good fit. If Indiana can accept the reality of what that means, I think it's a smart thing to do. So I think he'll ultimately be the Indiana coach, and don't listen to any of the nonsense he's saying. Go buy the property from Clinton, Colorado. That's what I would say.
Bill?
Okay. So which part? What's you want to ask about?
Well, okay. I guess you can pick up where Demetrius left off. Is he going to be the future Indiana head coach? He has proved that he can go anywhere and win. Can he win Saturday?
I mean, it's not impossible.
Did you hear his voice? Did you hear his voice? The way he said the word impossible. That's all he needs to hear.
But obviously, it's highly unlikely. It's somebody said cool story or something along those lines. I mean, it is the very definition of a cool story. It's an awesome story. It's a fun story. It's the kind of thing you'll tell your kids about one day. But it's not even like the we see Butler have or Gonzaga before Gonzaga stopped being a cute story and started being an unstoppable killing machine. Those teams had more talent, right? Even Cleveland State. Is anyone else old enough to remember Mouse McFadden?
Mouse McFadden.
Yeah.
Okay. So even though they didn't have a great team, they had one great player and a very good coach. Right? Unfortunately, Kevin Mackey's story. Wow, that's a 30 for 30. You should watch it.
Right.
But this is a different thing. This is as I pointed out, it's a cool little story. They come out of a cute little conference, and it's a bunch of guys who will have a great memory one day to look back on. But if you want to, even with a smaller program, you want to make a run and do damage, you got to have one really good player, one pretty darn good player, and then a bunch of guys who may not be good, but are really good at the thing they are good at, right? They might be not good in general, but they might be good at this one thing. And he doesn't have that team, right? I'm reminded of the first time Calipari, sort of put himself on the map. He had a kid named Luro who was listed at 6'7" in the power forward, probably 6'5.5", but mean as the day is long, like a wet rattlesnake. And a very, 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 very young freshman, back when freshmen were still considered young, not that young because they only stay 1 year, but named Marcus Camby at UMass. And people were like, oh, cute story. But they weren't cute for long because these guys could play, right? It wasn't like just a scrappy bunch of whatever. It's like he had some dudes. They just weren't that well known yet. So it's one thing when you have that situation. This is not that. This is not underrated super talents or guys that are going to show themselves as utter beasts. No. These are guys who enjoy playing college basketball. They're good college basketball players, but not for this, not for where they're going, right? So it'll be, like I said, they'll get some stuff to remember. I hope they have, a good night. I hope no one gets hurt, take lots of pictures and stuff,
of greater Indianapolis.
And what do you want from me? Now, once again, there'll be other people who will be in. Pitino's not a shoo-in for any big job now, right? Because of the stuff. And also, he still can really, really coach, but he's not quite the hot property he was 20 years ago. Or, it'd be like at one point, everybody was just throwing piles of cash at him. It's not quite that anymore. But could he get a big job? Yes. I don't think he gets this particular big job.
Okay. All right. Jeffrey, when you look down the matchups, give me what number 9 team you think is going to upset a number 8. You got 4 choices. You can take all 4. Or you can name 2. You can name 1.
I guess I'm going to go Homer Conference here a little bit. But when I look at Georgia Tech and Loyola, even before that game came out, they had listed Loyola as a favorite in the game. And then with Moses Wright going to be out with COVID, the ACC Player of the Year, there's a lot of things working against Georgia Tech in this game. But I think you're going to see them come out. Jose Alvarado, Michael DeVoe, Jordan Usher, that backcourt, they're a lot quicker than Loyola is. And I know that Loyola is a really good team, a really good defensive team. Their metrics are great. They had the Final Four run a couple of years ago. But when you watch Loyola on tape, that's not a very quick team at all. And I think they're going to struggle with the backcourt of Georgia Tech. Alvarado was a guy who had 5 steals. He led against Florida State in the ACC championship game, Defensive Player of the Year in the ACC. And this was a team, Georgia Tech, that turned Florida State over 25 times. So that's a game, that I'm looking at. That I think a lot of people are now really overlooking Georgia Tech in that game, especially with Wright being out of that one. I think Missouri can cause some problems for Oklahoma, especially the second leading scorer there, Oklahoma, being out of that game. And Missouri has shown some athleticism. In the SEC was had one of their better years this year. With Alabama was really strong. Arkansas was good. And Tennessee was strong. So that became a game that's much more of a toss-up than it was before with their COVID issues going on at Oklahoma. So those are probably the 2 9-8 games I might look at with an upset there.
Bill,
Yes.
you're upset 9 versus 8.
Oh, okay. That's a good question. I mean, there are a couple upsets I see. I don't know if that's one of them. Teams that I think could actually do something.
No, not just 9-8. We're not going. We're not going any
You can
further.
defer your time to the distinguished gentleman from Michigan.
Okay, hold on.
I'll take this. I'll take this before you go.
Because okay, let me think. A 9-8 matchup that could end in an upset. I mean, is a 9-8 game really an upset? I'll leave that alone. One that could actually be an upset. I guess there's probably about 2. Give me.
Don't take mine. Don't take mine. Mine is predictable and easy.
Don't know what yours is.
Okay, so none of yours. Okay, let me think about which ones are yours first.
There's only one.
There's only one. He's right. Mine's easy. It's only one. I haven't stopped talking about the strength of the Big Ten Conference all night. So it's really easy.
So you got 3 games to pick from.
Right.
Well, okay. So here's the 9 scenes that I think could do something. Georgia Tech, even though we've talked about the ACC being down, and Georgia Tech has been wildly inconsistent, they're a team that could put it together for a night and beat a team that's not that much better than them. So that's a possible one. Wisconsin is one of those anaconda teams. Anaconda. I'm sorry.
I begged you, bro. I begged you.
I'm sorry. I forgot. So that's not one. I forget what I said. Definitely not one of them. Not at all. No. Okay, the other one I think is a possible one is St. Bonaventure in the East region, and they play terrific defense.
Yeah, that's
They only have 1 double-digit loss in the whole year, and they went 16-4. Admittedly, not against the world's toughest competition, but they're a team that could just basically face a younger team and just put enough pressure on them to cause them to make a bunch of mistakes. Teams have lost just because they turn the ball over a lot, and they turn people over, so they could get that.
Okay, Dimitri.
So
now you can have the floor.
And this is I just met Jeffrey, so it's not personal. North Carolina, I'm going to be honest. I think their number is part historic and who they are. I think they're overrated is a big part of it. But what I've been saying all night about the difficulty of the Big Ten as a league causes people to not understand how good Wisconsin is, particularly when they're playing their best. They're really good. Right. I think that Wisconsin, they got a kid, Jordan Davis, that when he's really playing well, he might have league potential. But they play fundamentally sound. They always have. That's who Wisconsin basketball is. And again, it goes back to 2 things. I think North Carolina has been inconsistent all year, and I think they're a little overrated. Their numbers are a little higher than it should be. And I think that Wisconsin is a product of finishing 6th in a super tough league. A league that had 3 top 10 teams. There's no shame finishing 6th when the other 5 are Purdue, Illinois, Ohio State, Michigan, and the teams that are there. So a 6th place finish in the Big Ten to me is like a 3rd place finish in another good conference. And I just think Wisconsin is a little bit underrated and North Carolina is a little bit overrated. And I think that's your prime 8-9 matchup. Despite the idea that what Bill started with, I don't know if 9 beating an 8 is really an upset, but for the point of the question, I think that one jumped off the page, not just because I'm a Big Ten homer.
Well, it's kind of like a 4 versus a 5 in the NBA, but I thought it was a fun question.
I think it was.
Clint, what do you think, Clint?
Yeah, the first thing that came to mind for me too was Wisconsin because of the inconsistency that North Carolina has had. But the 2 teams that stand out the most to me with this 9-8 matchup, St. Bonnie's that Bill mentioned, and then of course Wisconsin. But it's because both of those teams, they have a lot of experience.
Yep.
These are not young guys that are just in their first year. They've been here before on some level. They are experienced. That's going to matter in a year that's already weird and crazy, and who knows what's coming next. In the tournament, experience means a lot. And both Wisconsin and St. Bonaventure, I know the Bonnies are outmatched against LSU. There's no way I don't think they have the talent that LSU does. But they've got the experience, and they're tough, and there's a lot to be said. And both of those teams have that experience and toughness. I would give them at least a chance in both those games for that reason.
Jeffrey, you want to defend your Tar Heels, or you want to go on to the next question?
Well, I mean, I will say about the Tar Heels, they have been inconsistent this year, and for the Tar Heels, it's all about their guard play. You know, their guards, Caleb Love. You know, that front line is huge. I mean, and you know, they're one of the top rebounding teams in the country. If their guards play well against Wisconsin, and they don't even have to play great, but if they just are not liabilities out there, I think they have a great shot to beat Wisconsin, because it's all about the guards for North Carolina. Their front line is going to get theirs. Baycock and Garrison Brooks, they're probably going to even out-rebound Wisconsin in this game, whether they win or lose. But if they can get anything from their backcourt, you know, anything from the perimeter, that's where North Carolina struggles. And they definitely don't have elite guards there. But if they can get their guards to maybe shoot 30% from three, maybe at least just 40, you know, somewhere in the 40s, 40% from the field, you know, I give them a shot to you know, to beat Wisconsin. And I think they could pose problems for Baylor because of their height. Baylor's not a really good rebounding team, but they're going to need their guards to play the way they have on occasion this year, because, you know, by and large, the guards, their backcourt has been pretty average. But there have been times here and there where they played well, and when their guards play well, you know, that's a Sweet 16 caliber team when their guards play well. So you'll know in about 5 minutes if North Carolina has a shot to win, because you'll see their guards. You know, they'll start airballing the threes early. And when you see a first couple of air balls, forget it. North Carolina's not going to beat Wisconsin. But if they knock down those first couple threes, you know, they're going to get into the fight. And that's going to be a dog fight. If they knock down those first couple of perimeter baskets, then you've got a game.
I hear you, Jeffrey. Thus far, I'm going to stick with you, Jeffrey, here. Thus far, 15 of the 68 teams have players that are pushing for NIL reform, and they're using the hashtag not NCAA property. Jeffrey, what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's just going more and more in that direction. I mean, even in the it's becoming more and more where the players have a voice. You know, they're taking charge of their likenesses, of their own images, of their own destiny. And, you know, it's just inevitable going in that direction. Even here in the ACC, they recently ruled there's not going to be transfer. There's not going to be the 1-year penalty for transferring in between schools. And it's just headed in that direction. So it's pretty much either, you know, get behind what's going on, or, you know, it's going to be trouble for the NCAA down the road. You know, if they try to hold on, and they've tried to hold on for years and years against this oncoming train of athletes taking charge of themselves, and now they're really up against it. If they don't adapt, I mean, there's always a potential that, you know, like the Power Five pulls out of the NCAA, and the NCAA becomes even more relevant than it has in the past. So, you know, I just think it's going to continue to go in that direction. And it's time for the NCAA to hear these student athletes' voices, and to just get on board with it. You know, make the compromises, work with them, come to equitable solutions, because the old system's just not gonna remain.
Well, Jeffrey, as always, man, it's good to have you join us and talk ACC, whether it's basketball or football. Hey, we got the draft coming up. We got March Madness coming up. So why don't you give us your final thoughts, whether it be on drafting a ACC quarterback number one, or, whether you want to talk March Madness. The floor is yours.
Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, when earlier when I had the technical difficulties, I couldn't defend my ACC. I think everyone thought I was hiding out when I heard the comments. But I mean, hey, this is a down year for the ACC. There's no question about it. You know, there's no vintage team going into the tournament where you can look and say, you know, that's a Final Four caliber team from the conference. It's just a down year. I mean, there's no one can argue that. I think if there is a team in the ACC that could kind of shock a little bit and maybe make a really deep run, I think the only ACC team that's really capable of doing that is Florida State. You know, they've got size, they've got athleticism. They've had some tournament success in the past with a couple of deep runs under Leonard Hamilton, Scotty Barnes. I mean, he's going to probably be a lottery pick at the guard position, and they have that physical makeup that could cause problems for a Michigan team that might be without Isaiah Livers, and looks like he's not going to be in there. When it comes for Florida State, it all depends on them turning over. Like I mentioned with Georgia Tech, they were just a turnover machine. But after their first COVID pause in January, I mean, they were playing some great basketball. They went on a 2 or 3 week run where they were winning games by 18 or 20 points, by averaging, I think, 18 points a win during that time. And if they can get to that level, you know, they can play with most anyone in the country. And they're probably the only team in the ACC that's really capable of you know, maybe having a shot at the Final Four. So if you're looking at one ACC team maybe capable of a run, take a look at Florida State. I'm not really sure there's another ACC team that can get past the Sweet 16, especially with Virginia, who I thought had the draw against Ohio and Creighton to get to the Sweet 16. I mean, they've pretty much not even been able to practice this entire week. They might get in one afternoon of practice, and that's a really tall order to advance. So I think Florida State's going to probably be the only ACC team that could make a run, but they'll be back. It was a down year, but the ACC will be back.
All right, Jeffrey. We look forward to having you back. Probably, you know, as it gets down to the final 8 or so, and hey, we'll see where the ACC is at. But thank you so much for your time, and look forward to having you back, Jeff. Thank you.
All right,
Good
thanks
talking
a
to you,
lot.
Jeffrey.
Always enjoy it, guys. You can find me on Twitter at Talking ACC Sports and blogging at allsportsdiscussion.com.
All right.
Thank you so much, Jeffrey. You have a good one.
You too, guys.
Clint,
Yes.
come on with it, man. You know, hashtag not NCAA property.
Well, I don't want to bore y'all with the story, but I'm gonna bore y'all with a story. When I was younger than I am now, I was dating this girl, and I go over to her house, and they're making Sunday dinner. Dad's making Sunday dinner. He's making this big pork roast, and he's getting ready to put it in. And he cuts the end of it off. He puts it in, and I go, "Why do you cut the end of the roast? Like, that's good meat. Like, we grew up on a farm. You're wasting some good meat there." He goes, "I don't know. That's what my dad always did." So he calls his dad. He goes, "Why do we always cut the end of it off?" And his dad goes, "Because we didn't have a pan big enough to fit it in." So he's been wasting this meat all this time. And he never thought about that. The NCAA is doing things that they've done for years because that's just how they've always done them. They don't know how to do them any other way. A lot of them are really, really, really stupid, but that's how they've always done them. So they're just wasting things. So we have to have these kids push back and start making sense of some of these things. There's no reason that a kid shouldn't be able to go, I don't care, get an agent if you want to. Let the agent pay you instead of these, you know, higher education places pay you. Let the agent pay you all he wants. Then it's his problem. Now, maybe we need to vet the agents. Maybe we need to do some work there. If a kid declares and doesn't get drafted, aren't you in the business of helping kids? Shouldn't he be able to come back to school? I know that's never been the rule, but doesn't that make sense? I mean, we are in the business of helping kids, right? I am convinced that 99.9, maybe a little higher, the adults just screw things up for the kids. That is the case here again. We typically screw things up for the kids. These kids have to push back. They'll get some of the things changed, hopefully, and maybe it'll be a little bit better. And we see every generation does this kind of incrementally, and they're making some gains on improving some things. Maybe kids can start making some money off their likeness. Maybe some kids can start getting some better situations where, hey, I declare and I don't get drafted, I can go back to school. That's better for the kid, right? That's who we're helping here. So this is how the NCAA has always done things. So that's still how they're doing them. And sometimes you need some kids. If this helps, wonderful, because some of these stupid things need to change. They've just been done this way for years.
Yeah.
Demetrius, get a bigger pan.
Right. Yeah. So this one I have the potential to get kind of hot with, because this is one that always touches me very, very poorly. I don't the construct of the NCAA is obsolete. It just needs to go away, quite frankly. And I think Clint just gave us a bunch of reasons. But if you go back historically, the idea was the scholarship, right, balances out your inability, except at some point the money became so big that the idea of true amateurism is out the window. And it takes the Pan story is essentially, let's use a little common sense here. How about we ask my dad a question? That's literally all he did, was ask his dad a question, right? And so since the early 90s, and there's a story, as much as I never like to bring up the university in Ann Arbor, I think I want to attribute this to Jalen Rose, who said something like he went into the student store, saw a jersey with his name on it, and he couldn't come close to afford buying it. Looked at the tag, and he couldn't buy it. He couldn't come close to buying it. And it struck him like in all these ways. And it's, for me, the psychology of it is fascinating, right? And people have gone to one extreme and called it borderline slavery. I don't tend to do that, because if you study what real slavery was like, you wouldn't compare it to anything. So you wouldn't. It was not. But when you really look at this, what happens is this is an institution that has profited off the backs of people, or not just people of color, not just young black, all athletes. The reality is any system that suppresses the opportunity for an individual to earn, I'm going to struggle. And this is the worst one I've ever seen, right? True amateurism has been a foreign concept since European countries were sending their pros to play in the Olympics 25, 30 years ago, whatever it was.
40.
Right. So the fact that we're still even talking about this, because all they want to do is profit when you're using their name, their image, their likeness. My favorite video game of all time hasn't been on the market for a decade because of this nonsense. So I am personally really upset, although I hear it may be coming back. Right? And Clint immediately laughed, so he knows what I'm talking about. It's the best game ever. The Michigan State team,
killed, man.
It's the greatest, and they had to take it off the market because of NC. I've been mad since then. I'm salty about a video game, is what this boils down to. But this has been, it's been archaic for 25 years. Why we're still talking about this is unbelievable to me. It's shocking that it takes this. They just need to go away. The NCAA should go away.
Bill, now I guess now I'm going to validate all this ageism that you've thrown at me all day. But I don't remember slavery. I'm not that old, But I was born in 1947, so I do remember discrimination. Okay.
Yes. Well, I was born way after that. I also remember
it. So go ahead, Bill.
So, I mean, there's so many layers to this, and I remember many years ago reading Dave Megacy's book, another one of those football players turned actor, who had a decent NFL career, played at Syracuse for the legendary Ben Schwartzwalder. And oh my God, the things they used to do to guys in football practices in the 60s, you would literally go to jail for a very long time. I mean, I'm not even joking when I say that. Like, literally cruel, inhumane, unsafe things used to go on in football practices in the 50s and 60s. I read Gary Horton's book, Meat on the Hoof, about playing for Darrell K. Royal in the 60s. And these are people who are like people are holed up as, these great examples. They're building men. Well, if they survive, I guess they get built. But I mean, the things they did to kids in those days are mind-boggling. And they celebrate the Junction Boys, right? The whole thing with what Bear Bryant was doing. Once again, some of those guys, I'm sure, have kidney damage. I mean, some things they're doing is insane.
Water.
Right. I mean, just crazy things. They did. I mean, I'm sure some of those guys were permanently damaged by some of the things they went through. And the other thing that he talked about, Gary Horton in Meat on the Hoof, is it was in those days a $50 handshake. Now, this is 1964 money, so $50 64. When a booster thinks you had a good game, it's claps you on the shoulder, it gives you the hit. $50 was something in those days. I mean, you could have a good week on $50, in 1964. There's always been, I've been a bit of a historian, as you know. There were guys getting money under the table in 1904, dude. Like, none of this is, I don't know what to tell you. That's why ironically, one of the reasons the NCAA came into being was because there was all kinds of shady, funny business going on with guys who weren't really students at the school where they were supposed to be students, and, guys getting paid and all this stuff. So nothing new under the sun. The NCAA there's a term that some of you may know if you take in psychology class. It's called functionally fixed. And when a person or something becomes functionally fixed, it means it is built. All of its everything, its equity, its way, its sense of self is around something that even once the something that's built on is gone, it doesn't know that, right? It's still sort of hanging, like when Wile E. Coyote runs off the cliff and doesn't realize he's run off the cliff, he's still going. So that's what they have. They don't realize that they've run off the cliff. There's nothing holding them up anymore. And has been mentioned, if the Power 5 schools wake up one day and say, we're going to form our own thing, we're going to negotiate our own TV contracts, we're going to make our own rules, then they'll look down and realize it's down into the canyon. So if they were smart, and they're not, but if they were smart, they would engage with, instead of shutting down like they did to Kane Coulter, like they did. I told the Jeremy Bloom story, I think a week or two ago, about why would you not jump on this great story? You have an Olympic level athlete in another sport who also is a really good football player. And instead of saying, oh, this is great, how can we capitalize on this and make him one of the faces of NCAA football? They said, nope. Give back any money you've ever taken for travel or training expense, or give back your scholarship. So, and while at the same time, some dude's getting $2-point-something million to play minor league baseball, whose football scholarship is just fine and dandy. So we have these things that are built, like I said, castles in the air, whatever term you want to use. Like, it's nothing. There's no there. Nothing's holding it up. And once everybody realizes the emperor has no clothes, you're running on air, like there's nothing to, this is all piled up, like you've piled this whole Jenga game basically up. And at some point, the wrong piece is going to get pulled out, and it's all going to come down. And if I were in charge of the NCAA, which I clearly am not, we would all be thinking of ways to partner with, as opposed to oppose student athletes in their attempts to improve their lives. Oh, hey, you want to profit off your license? We're going to help you to profit off your license. Because if you're more famous, if you're more successful, we're famous, we're more successful. Like the fact that they can't see this tells me everything I need to know.
That's Robert Parker, half of your half. But the bigger the whole is, the bigger my half of your half is, right? Yeah, it's basic economics.
Let's see, Clint. Let's talk some NBA before we decide to go home tonight, or at least get out of here anyway. So I'm going to start with March 13th. You guys might not even know what happened March 13th if it hadn't been for this question. But on March 13th, we had 5. I repeat that again, 5 NBA players: Westbrook, Harden, the Greek Freak, Sabonis, and Randall all scored triple doubles. Do you contribute that to the greatness of the player, the rules of the game, or a little bit of both?
Well, there's no doubt we've got some really talented players that are capable of doing things that I don't know that we've seen them do it at this skill level. You look at, and these are big guys. I mean, Giannis, come on, that's a legit 7-footer. Plays like a point guard. Sabonis, well, of course, Sabonis' dad just was an old man by the time he got to the NBA. But make no mistake, he was a point guard at 7 foot tall and was an old man when he came over. So there's no question that the play is amazing, and also somewhere I have to think, guys like Magic and Larry and Michael, and we can go all over. We can go Dumars, and then we can go everywhere, and they're going, wait, they get to do what now? and you can't touch them? Yep. Wow, that must really be nice. The NFL does it. Everything is tilted in favor of the offense, and the NBA has done that as well. We remember those 90s Knicks teams, and it looked like a football game, and the scores ended 74-76, and it was painful to watch. This is the result of that. Now you can't touch anyone ever. Yep. And the flopping definitely plays into a lot of that stuff. It's a wide open game. I appreciate that. I love the movement that we sometimes get. It lends itself to a lot of offensive prowess. The players are really, really good. And also the rules really, really help them look good.
Demetrius, one thing that I found, because I spent most of my high school days even playing basketball on defense. I couldn't shoot worth a damn, but the guy that I guarded, he's gonna have me in his hip pocket all day. I might, I'm going to commit at least 2 flagrant fouls because we didn't have those back in those.
It's a given. It's automatic.
We didn't have that, but. The 2 flagrant fouls tells him, it puts that mindset. If you come through here, I'm knocking your head off. Boom, bang. Wasn't no finesse there. That's the way it was. Nowadays, a defensive player can't even make a team. You got to be able to shoot threes. You don't even have to play defense now if you can shoot. But anyway, that's another discussion. What's your thoughts? 5 players making triple dubs. I mean,
there is no questioning the athletic ability of today's player, but I don't want to talk about that at all. So I'm going to piggyback on what Clint said about the 90s Knicks, except predictably, I'm going to take this back to Detroit, Michigan, because that's generally my role on this podcast. The bad boy Pistons are what all this is about, right? Rick Mahorn once said, because somebody came up with a saying, and I think the original saying was, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. Mahorn said, if you ain't bleeding, I ain't trying. Right? So the idea was earn everything you get. That was the way the league was back then. The league as a concept said, no. When Michael Jordan came along, he said, our money is in growing our players. Branding, the whole thing. That's why they went to the Olympics largely, is branding our most athletic players. We want the athleticism of our game is the beauty. This is a David Stern concept from, I don't know, late 80s when they were showing the finals on tape delay. It's like, wait a minute, this ain't right. We got a problem here. And so that was essentially the death of the bad boy Pistons and those Knicks teams, because I grew up in an era where 81-79 final was a great game. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the 81-79 final. I believe we held the Pacers in an Eastern Conference Finals game, and this would have been the 04 team, the Chauncey, Rasheed, Ben Wallace team. Yep. I think they scored 74 points in a semifinal game, in a conference final game.
I love that. Scored that in 3 quarters.
Right, exactly. Now one guy might put that up on you, right? James Harden might do that himself one day. I think that, but it's what that league is. That league, and it's a business. That league said, this is how we're going to grow our business. This is how we get our finals on prime time on ABC. This is how we sell merch. This is how we get to China. This is how we grow our business. So I don't begrudge them. except like I always say, I grew up on Bad Boy Pistons, so I don't always enjoy this game. Watching James Harden dribble for 18 seconds, right, and then go left or go right and either kick it or throw up a right. I don't enjoy it as much. I hope the Pistons are good again one day so I can enjoy that league again. It's borderline unwatchable for me. I honestly, I just don't enjoy that game. But I guess that's important to note that the five. But I think it goes back to, and Clint snuck it in. They can't play defense. They don't know how to play defense, and they're not allowed to play defense. Even if you're not putting your elbow in somebody's ribs like Rick Mahorn, you should be able to put your hands up in the air or something. And I don't think that league really cares about defense. I don't think they're promoting it. I think their rules are specifically, to Clint's point, going against it. So this is going to happen again. This might happen again this month. Who knows? Right? It'll happen again.
Bill, I mean, it used to be a feat to hold a team under 100 points. Now I'm wondering, how many teams are going to go over 150?
Yeah. There's two things that I've noticed, and think about what happened when you watch the All-Star game. Now, the All-Star game is that. It's fun. It's a bunch of guys who normally don't play together, blah, blah, blah. And even in the All-Star game, remember, if you watched it in the 70s, in the 80s, the fourth quarter would roll around, and it would be a little less collegial, right? It'd be a little less, not quite so much fun being had. In the fourth quarter of an All-Star game, all of a sudden it's a little like a NBA basketball game.
Yeah,
I watched the last All-Star game. And
maybe an NFL All-Star game, depending on who's playing.
Right. So I watched the last one, and I'm not saying the intensity didn't pick up, but it didn't at any point resemble an actual game. Right. It always looked like everybody was just having, the time of their lives. So there's a difference. And once again, I guess all of us get to sound like a bunch of old curmudgeons. So not just you, but all of us, James, are going to sound like a bunch of old curmudgeons now.
Get off my grass.
Right, exactly. Right? We all get to shake our fists.
Where's my black glove? I got a black glove here somewhere.
Right. There used to be a place for an intimidator on everyone's roster, right? Everyone had at least one guy that was it. That was what he did. And they would often have guys, they would often have names like Jungle Jim Luskatov. There's no more guys like that left. There's no more guys like Frank Lavella. There's no more guys think of all the guys, that's all they did. Their job was when somebody got too hot was to make them cool, right? Your job is to make someone's life miserable. I mean, Kermit Washington, and of course, obviously he went too far, but he was one of the first. Yeah, right. I mean, almost literally murdering someone. You don't want that, but right. But that's when we realized that might be a problem. But he was one of the first guys in the league to seriously lift weights, and he was a naturally powerful individual anyway. So the last thing you need is an angry Kermit Washington not lifting weights. But the game had a place for what was essentially basketball's version of the hockey goon, right? Yeah. There was a guy on each roster. He might be, a guy with very low skill level in other areas. He might be able to maybe rebound a little bit, maybe play a little defense, but I mean, like in a conventional sense, but he was able to, with setting the right pick on the right guy or just giving the hard foul, able to transmit to a player, particularly a guy who's hot on offense and maybe a younger player, that's not how we do things here. Oh, that thing you did? No, we don't do that here. And so, that guy isn't on NBA rosters anymore. Like, I checked. I can't find that guy.
There is no Rick Mahorn. No Rick Mahorn.
Right. That guy who's 6'7", 6'8", maybe 6'9", and maybe a power forward, maybe a backup center. But he only plays about 3.5 minutes, but it's 3 impactful minutes. That guy's gone.
3 minutes, 6 fouls.
Right. He gets his 5 fouls or 6 fouls, whatever, off in that 3.5 minutes, and you feel every one of them. He's gone. That guy's not in the league anymore. So that's one thing that's changed. Everybody wants to shoot from outside. I don't care if you're 8 feet tall. You're Jack nowadays. Like, the game has changed so much. I mean, obviously I can remember before there was a 3-point line, but once the 3-point line came in, the only guys who shot threes were guys who could make threes, right? Who knew they were going to make them, pretty much. Because if you were iffy on threes, you took one. Right, that's it. You get to sit here and watch. So,
and if you made two, I'm going to undercut you. So,
right. Now you got to get taped.
Yes.
I got to damage one of your ankles now. Now you got Bowl out there throwing up 3 points.
Right, exactly. Right. Yes. Right. I mean, so the game has completely changed. The Europeans won, right?
Yeah, they did.
Used to be kind of laughing at European players. Well, who's laughing now, American boy? We're all playing like Europeans now.
Dirk Nowitzki is somewhere going, you're welcome.
Right? All those guys, Drodson and all the early Europeans that we all kind of, looked askance at the early European guys, but they won. We're not playing their game. Everyone passes. Everyone shoots from the perimeter. Defense, but the game is a prettier game, right? I mean, it's like the way the Brazilians play soccer almost, right? Except for you talked about the guys who just want to dribble all day long. Like move the ball. Do you have then pass the ball? Like that used to be. If the ball got stuck, you get screamed at, right? Yeah. That used to be a bitchable offense if the ball gets stuck. If you're the guy who's running the offense, then the ball has to move. And the ball's not moving, once again, get over here.
Yep.
Now we have basically some teams 5 1-on-1, right? That's all it's 5 guys 1-on-1. It's hard to watch, and I'm not a purist, but it can get hard to watch. I recognize the greatness of some of these players. I recognize that. I really do. But I don't like it, right? I can be aware that these guys are great and still not like it and like the way they're great. I do not have fun watching some of these guys play ball.
Get off my grass, James Harden.
Yes. James Harden is one of the
get off my lawn. James Harden.
One of the guys I could.
We're going to talk about Harden in a minute. So
sorry.
Sorry. I need to jump the gun there.
You kind of did, but I tell you what I'll do. I won't talk about Harden, but I'll talk about the team that he left. And Demetrius, since you decided to step your foot out there, then we'll make sure that you see whether it's cow manure or whether it's perfume. But anyway, the Houston Rockets haven't won a game since February 4th. That was my birthday. Okay, February 4th. We talk about that big men don't play that big a role, but. Just a little hint. That was when their big man went down, Mr. Woods. Your thoughts on the Rockets, the demise of Woods, and are the Rockets going to be the? I can't call them the doormat. Yeah, there's a good name. Are they going to be the doormat of the Western Conference?
Yeah, I don't think so. First of all, Christian Wood, former Detroit Piston. Any reason to shout out Detroit. So good player, though. I like Christian Wood. I wish we could have kept him. We are at a different place. They will not. Two things. One, they will have cap maneuverability because of the Harden trade. Yeah. Two, Houston's in a state called Texas, and they have no state income tax. So they will be able to sign free agents, and they will have an advantage. And I think that they had to transition. They went for it for a couple of years and did some crazy things. But in moving James Harden, they put themselves in a position where they can rebuild that roster. I do not personally believe that tanking works. Like the concept of tanking, if there's a league that it can work, it's probably this one. I don't believe the concept works. I don't believe the process has worked in Philadelphia. Maybe I'm in the minority. There are people who think I don't think it's worked. What have they won?
Yeah. I don't think the Rockets are tanking. I think they're just bad. I mean,
right. And it's easier to not look like you're tanking when you're actually bad. You can deceive everybody. I think it's both. I think Christian Wood didn't help because he is a good player. But Victor Oladipo is a good player. They have some talented pieces there, right? And I think that it is a confluence of all those things, like losing their best player and they didn't really fill him with anybody nearly of his level. I think with Christian Wood going down, and I think they don't really mind losing, particularly not right now, because they can put themselves in a position where in that league with the advantages they have, they can rebuild that probably rather quickly in the league because guys will come there. Guys will come there. If you pay them, they'll come there.
Oh my God! If they manage to draft Cade,
Bill, go ahead, Bill. Because they also got rid of PJ Tucker now too. So
because PJ Tucker can't shoot threes. So all the things in the previous rant still apply. So I just won't, but they're all still true. And this team was built around this one. I guess the term we stopped using the term ball hog, right? Because we considered negative. The ball dribbling enthusiast.
I think ball dominant is what they like to say.
Thank you. There it is. Yes, right. So when he left and took basically everything their team was built around with him, you're starting over from, right? I mean, it's thinking of the world according to Garp, right? There's a scene where they're looking at houses. And Garp, of course, is played by Robin Williams. While they're looking at the house, they're talking to the realtor. A plane crashes in the side of the house. And the realtor's like, oh, I'm so sorry. The realtor, and then Garp goes, no, wait. What's the chance of 2 planes crashing in this house? We'll take it. So you have this situation, right, where maybe you're saying to yourself, what's the chances that 2 planes crash into? So you're saying at this point, we can only go upwards, right?
Right.
You have, as was pointed out by Demetrius, there's some pieces, 2 or 3, that you can build around. You should be drafting towards the very top of the draft unless something goes desperately wrong. And as was pointed out, it is not an unattractive town. Right. Physically, it's not an unattractive town. Texas, and it's very, very nice having a 0, as was pointed state income tax is incredibly attractive. And if you're a fan of Hot Wings, how did he explain it? He goes there for the wings. If you go to certain places for wings that aren't really wing places, it has some that are considered some of the best in the country. So if that's something you're into,
it's so great how you dance around that. So
you can find wings.
Yeah, there are wings. There are wings.
And so yes, there are things that would help you to bring NBA players there. And they've proven that they cater to their superstars. Yeah. So, there's some places where you think, oh, what should I go there? Will they treat me with great respect? No, deference. You can't get more deference. Like as much deference as can be given to you as a superstar player, Houston has maxed out, right? You can't be more deferential. There's no higher you can go. Our deference goes to 11.
Clint, what's your thoughts there, man?
Well, I mean, they built that team completely around one guy, and then that one guy was like, "No, I'm good," and you're kind of left holding the bag. And maybe that's their fault for building around a guy who, when we were coaching, would say he's a grass killer, because if you put him in your front yard, he'll kill all the grass with all his dribbling, and that's what James kind of does. You built your team around that. We want spot up guys. We're not even going to get size. We don't care. We just want spot up guys that he can dribble, and then we can kick to you, and you probably won't knock it down, but that's what we're going to hope for.
Concept.
They built their team around, and so now you're in a situation where you're playing in the West. Every night is really, really tough. The bad news is the Rockets can't score. Right. The good news is they can't stop anyone either, I guess. I don't know. The Rockets are a mess, and they won't. This is probably bottoming out for them, I guess. Yeah. This is probably the worst, and then they'll build up from here. I would think they'll improve.
Yeah, they have to.
Can't be
two planes can't crash this house.
Right.
Well, you're talking about 2 planes. Let's go to 3 planes here. We have one will be flat. He's sitting down. KD, he's still out. Right now they're saying he might be back in 3 weeks because of this hamstring. But in the meantime, Harden goes out. He scores a triple-double, 40 points, 10 assists. 10 rebounds, 15 assists. have the Nets become Harden's team? And how are we going to sort this out? Once again, like it's all the Nets seem to be fun when there's only one or two of these three there. But what's your thoughts, Glenn?
Well, it's James Harden, and that's kind of what this team is. Kyrie, who knows? KD physically. I mean, if KD can play, then KD's the guy, but who knows physically what he can do. And so we're back to the same thing with, okay, it's James Harden, and maybe he comes out and he's great until the playoffs, but maybe he comes out and he's great tonight. Maybe he comes out and he ate too many wings. You don't know. And all of the guys that they've kind of built this team around are that same type of person. We don't know from one night to the next whether or not they really feel like playing that night. Right. Maybe they do. And if they do, they'll be very, very tough to beat. And if they don't, they might lose in the first round. I guess it probably is Harden's team because he's the guy that's most on the floor, at least right now. So I guess it's him, but I don't know. He might get hungry, so.
I'm all about them wings.
Bill, world be flat. Take it.
Well,
oh boy.
So yeah, he's once again that 30 for 30 some days will be awesome.
It is.
Man, the things, all the layers, and the to him. It's a team. So unlike what we talked about with Houston, where everything was built around this one particular, and I'll use this grass killer. That's an awesome term.
It's great.
You had a certain sense of balance, but there's how many basketballs used in play at one time. You coach basketball. How many do you have? Is it just
the one?
Okay,
that's the one.
So if you're still restricting, and maybe someday that'll change. If you're still restricting the number of balls in play to one. There at some point will be some sort of issue with the number of balls that they'll have available when all three guys are healthy. So it's almost like a oddly helpful that they've never had for any length of time that real problem, right? Somebody's always helped them out by being hurt or being unavailable for whatever reason. And maybe this is part of their grand plan. They're playing three-dimensional chess. Who knows? I don't know. But at some point, maybe the playoffs, all three guys will be there, and they're going to have to figure some things out. Kyrie, to his credit, has not pushed back, right? He's not been like, hey, dude, it's a lot of dribbling. Like, he hasn't said that, right? He's been okay with everything. And then KD has been, as you pointed out, not always available, which I'm wondering if this is now the current state of, like, will this continue? Is this now who he's going to be, a guy who's going to miss significant time for the rest of his career?
Yeah.
And, I don't have to go down the list of guys who've torn their Achilles. Few of them have come back to be, none of them have come back to be exactly who they were before. Like, that's not what happens. And only a few of them have come back to even be really, really good versions, like sort of close versions of what they were before. So I'm hoping that he'll beat the odds and be very close to what he was before. But thus far, we've seen him in dribs and drabs and spots. Here's where I'm going to know if this team really works, right? Here's what I'll finally know. I talked about this, James, right? There's 8 seconds on the clock. They're down by 2, right? This is when I'll know if this team works. And we start the possession with James Harden dribbling the heck out of the basketball, right? I mean, because that's how everything starts. Will he say to himself, well, I've got KD on this wing, and look, running a nice little J curl, there's Kyrie Irving. Will he do the beautiful Hoosiers kind of thing, and the ball moves, and they get an easy shot, and they win the game, or tie the game, I guess, at that point? Or will he say to himself, I might be able to get a 4-point play here because I might get off a 3 and get fouled. Now, when I see how that possession plays out, right, then I will know if this team works. Until that situation happens where they're all available, 8 seconds to go, they're down by 2, Harden's killing the grass, Clint, I love that term, And does the leopard change his spots? If at that point, something different from what I think will happen happens, I will then begin. Because as I've said to you so many times, James, when you ask me for all the years I've on the show, well, do you believe in such? And what have I said to you? I've said no, right? Every single time you've asked me this for years, because I have not seen the leopard change his spots. When that happens, I'll give you a different answer.
Dimitri, actually, I asked the same question when it was just Kyrie and KD who would take the last shot. Now we have what do you guys call him? The grass killer?
Grass killer.
Oh, okay, so two terms I have to remember now. World be flat. And grass.
That's the grass killer.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
This team has some awesome shirts today.
Okay, Dimitri. So your thoughts on is this Harden's team, and it didn't work out too well when it was Harden's team in Houston. The leopards change their spots?
No, they do not. Historically,
I'm
they
a
do
snake,
not.
and I still have my rattle.
They do not. This became his team the day the trade was made, and unfortunately, I don't think World Be Flat got the email. And this, I'm gonna play out Bill's scenario because Bill always does this to me. It just fascinates me and puts these things in my head. This is what I see happening. It's 8 seconds left. He dribbles down to 6 seconds because that's just given. You're dribbling 80% of that off. He takes 3 steps back because apparently you can take steps backwards now, and 3 are allowed. Chucks up a 3, right? That's how that game is. I don't even care if a shot goes in or not. This is what happens at the post-game press conference. KD is slouched in his chair with a hoodie over his head, saying something about it takes a whole team to win. Every night is a different night. So then your boy World B comes in and gives us some nugget from Confucius about the weight of air, and then walks out. That's how that whole thing. I don't even know if they hit the shot or not. It won't matter. That thing's gonna happen the same way no matter what. At some point, Kyrie is gonna show his spots. He's gonna do it with cryptic comments on either social media or in a post game. Kyrie's not gonna be direct. Kevin's gonna just try and. First of all, I'm not sure if Kevin Durant's gonna play another game this year. I have ruptured my Achilles. I don't think he's going to play again. That's just my thought. I could be wrong. I welcome him back because I actually like, of the 3 of them, he's my favorite.
Yes.
Harden's mind is going to say, I can step back and hit this 3 and win this game because A, he's done it a number of times. And B, no one's ever stepped up and said, that's not the right basketball play. That's the wrong basketball. He's never heard that, right? Because somebody's open. And my thing is, at the end of the day, we should be talking about Joe Harris, right?
Oh yeah,
right. Yeah. Where is Joe Harris
He's
in this
the guy,
scenario, right? And but my feeling is that in your scenario, Harden's going to take a step back 3, and irrespective of what happens with the shot, KD and World B are going to act the same in the press conference, no matter what. So that's how I see it playing out.
Good call.
All right. NBA players in the union, they have agreed to modify the safety protocols for fully vaccinated players. Do you think that there should be a reward for players getting vaccinated, Demetrius? And after that, give us your final thoughts.
Sure. Are we allowed to swear on this podcast? I don't know. I don't know. You guys didn't clarify the rules before I told
we are.
No, I'm kidding.
Well, I'm going to tell you just so you know for future reference. We are our lowest rating is PG-13, but usually we're MA.
Right.
But so go ahead.
I'll say PG-13. Hell no.
Okay.
Nobody should be rewarded for doing the right thing. I struggle with that. It's just the right thing to do. I got my first shot 2 weeks ago today. I get my booster a week from now. It's the right thing to do. 500,000 people have died. What are we talking about? I'm not rewarding anybody for getting back. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. Fine. You can live with the consequences of your actions. If you don't believe in it, I'm not going to debate you. I'm not incentivizing or rewarding you to do it because it's the right thing to do. I mean, do we reward somebody for scooping up a cat out of the middle of the street? Or, I mean, we wouldn't talk about this, right? If somebody was hurt and you saw them laying on the ground and you were driving by or walking by, do you stop? You're either the kind of dude that doesn't stop, and that makes you a word I can't say on the PG-13 podcast, or you're a legitimate human being and something inside you says, wait, let me make sure they're okay. If we look at this thing from that way, because it's not about me. I didn't get vaccinated for me. I got vaccinated for everybody I'm around. I got vaccinated for everyone else. That's the trick with this disease. It has never been about me. It's always been about other people. If you get that, my perspective is that I don't think I'm right or wrong. I have no desire to incentivize millionaires to do the right thing. And that might be a very short-sighted view. But that is what my view happens to be. So I have a final thought, right? And early in the podcast, you almost made me change it. So I need to give you that quick story first, and then I'm going to get to my actual final thought. You talked about the Patriots spending some amount of money in 3 hours. And it reminded me of a movie from 1985 or 86 with Richard Pryor. Underrated movie, by the way. The concept is far-fetched. Brewster's Millions, right? Montgomery Brewster's got to spend, wait for it, $30 million in 30 days. $30 million in 30 days. And you started the pod with the Patriots spent $150 million in 3 hours. I thought, wow. And I was thinking about Brewster's Millions for the next 10 minutes. And I thought about making that my final thought because it was an underrated movie. That movie made over $40 million, by the way. John Candy, Lynette McKee. There were some people in that movie. Yes. I say it wasn't a bad movie. But today happens to be the anniversary. And other than the guy over my other shoulder, my next guy is Jackie Robinson, who I have, for obvious reasons. But today, in 1942, 5 years before he signed with the Dodgers, he and give it to me, Bill. What's his name? I'm gonna remember it in a minute.
Are you talking about
Nate Moreland? Nate Moreland.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Had tryouts with the Chicago White Sox in 1942. Now, despite the fact that I love the state of Michigan, I was born in the state of Michigan, I root for my teams. I actually live right now in a North Chicago suburb. So the White Sox had an opportunity. This is the team that in 1919 had the biggest scandal, possibly still in the history of that game, right? Had been nothing significant in the intervening 22 years. And they're there in 1942, and they bring in these two guys.
Yep. And
Jimmy Dykes, their manager at the time, readily admitted, just said, these guys can play. There's no doubt these guys can play, but they didn't do it. Proceeded to go like 66 and 80 and finish in 7th place in the American League. And it's like, think about history, just like these little things that happen in history that some of us know about. I read about this, maybe 10 years ago, probably in one of Jackie's biographies. But the thought is like, how different would it be if that had happened in Chicago? In Chicago, of all cities, right? What that would have been like if Jackie had integrated the game, or if both of them had integrated the game. First of all, the White Sox would have been really, really good. Right? And if they would have stayed with it and brought in a few more guys, what if the White Sox had been the Yankees, right? Of the 50s or whatever, right? And they could have been
right in their own city. You're talking about guys they could have added Ted Double Duty Ratcliffe.
Exactly. Right there. Who's
Ted
right down the street.
Said, when they asked him like the best players he ever saw in his life, always mentioned Ted Ratcliffe.
Double duty.
He saw Ted Ratcliffe pitch one-handed double hitter and beat a bunch of major league players, and then catch the other double hitter and hit a home run and beat a bunch of major league players.
Yeah. And so, I always thought that was a fascinating story. And then I had a thing today to say, today was the day of the tryout. So I thought that would be a pretty good final thought, how history would have been so different for the White Sox as an organization, for the game of baseball that was 5 years sooner. And I thought that was a very interesting story that they had a tryout with the White Sox in 1942 on this day. So
even before my birthday, Bill. Anyway,
before you,
Bill, your thoughts on rewarding the players for vaccination and your final thoughts.
Well, I mean, it is incentivized. So the incentive is you will not catch or be a super spreader of a global pandemic disease. There's your incentive.
Right.
Hey,
exactly.
Sign me up. Like what else do you need? I will not be catching or carrying a pandemic that's killing people all over the world. Boom. Right? And if you need something more, then have the wacky mascot with a t-shirt cannon show up as well. But I think the not catching or spreading a global pandemic is incentive enough.
How much reward do you need, right?
Your final thoughts, Bill?
Sure. As many people have hopefully noticed, this month has been celebrating women, and hopefully women in sports. There's a lot of terrific women in and around the sport of football. We don't have anyone in the Hall of Fame yet. And I'm going to propose, not formally, though I'm going to bother some people who I do know have the ability to actually get votes, have actual votes, to put up Amy Trask as a contributor. Amongst other things, the Princess of Darkness, as she once was nicknamed, broke a bunch of barriers and lines and whatever, and was a tremendous mentor to a lot of other young executives, male and female, white and black and Asian and Latino and everything. But she has reached back. Like, one of the cool things about so many of the people that I've come to admire is not just what they accomplished, but they're really serious about reaching back and bringing other people with them and towards them. So I'm very blessed and happy that I've gotten to know Amy Trask a little bit, and also Connie Carlsberg, who was the first woman to scout for an NFL team. I cannot express to you, it's still hard now for women in sports. I mean, if you don't know, ask, right? Ask any of them what things show up in their DMs and what messages they get in the comment section. I mean, some of it's just vile. There's no other word. Some of it's just things that upset me, just not cool, right? But beyond that, think about the things that, obviously we're talking about an era well before social media, but think about the things that, Amy Trask had to face when she would go to league meetings, when she would go to, negotiations, and all the things that she would go to. And people, I'm sure the first time people were like, 2 creams, 1 sugar. I'm sure she faced a whole bunch of crap on her way to getting there. And we don't spend enough time. I'm so glad that one of my heroes, Bill Nunn, has finally made it in. I don't think we spend enough time talking about all the things that the league was slow to do, right? There's all these amazing things the league has done. And I love football, obviously. But we could be further along than we are. There's no 2 ways around that. I don't know how else to put it. It's better, but it can be better than it is now. I was very excited when Jason Wright got the job he got with the Washington football team. And, slowly but surely the wheels are turning. But there's so many really qualified people that are still on the outside looking in. And I'm hoping that with what's happened, with the Dodgers and what's happening with, there's teams beginning to wake up to the fact that your plumbing, from the waist down doesn't determine your ability to do the job. Wow, who knew? Hey, right? 51.4% of the Earth's population wasn't being considered for something because of something that has nothing to do with ability.
Yeah.
Right? And so my fervent hope is, in addition to recognizing some of these women who pioneered the way for hopefully many more women to occupy important spaces within sports, I really, 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 really hope that we start removing some of these barriers so these people don't have to be so exceptional, don't have to be such pioneers, don't have to be so thin, so tough, so, unbelievably resilient. Let's not make it so hard. Let's not have them have to be so heroic to accomplish these things. That's my
thought. Well said.
Clint, once again, Bill has shoveled dirt on me, considering, that, I come from those chauvinistic times. I remember,
sadly, we all do.
I remember, I remember, a lot of words that, I used a lot differently in my youth.
Can't say that. Can't say that anymore, Jay.
Like you said, that's for SPORTSKRIB After Dark.
Right.
So Clint, what's your thought on this vaccination thing, and give us your final thoughts for the evening, man. As always, it's been fun, and I hope you're back next week, and whenever you can drop in. So
Thank you for having me. It's genuinely, my wife is now in this book club, so this is my book club. I get to come play and talk sports. So thank you again for the invite, and I'll be here whenever I can, because just talking with you three is a blast, and it's really, really fun. So the NBA players, the reward for vaccine, I don't know what kind of reward you can get them. They feel like a group right now that they need a lot of hugs. It seems like NBA players, they need a lot of hugs, because getting, like you talked about, getting vaccinated, I don't know if that's anything that you should really be rewarded for, aside from, not getting sick or getting anyone else sick. But to be fair, we're talking about guys that aren't that worried about their health in general. I've seen some of the groupies in each city, and they don't care that much. Like, they live on the edge, right? They live on the edge as it is. So are we really expecting them to do the right thing here? I don't know if that's going to happen. Final thoughts, I guess. We talked about it obviously a lot during the show, but man, I'm glad March Madness is back after that year off and just not getting it. And I know that the NBA players and the NFL players, a lot of them, hey, I'm going to sit out and I don't have to do this. That's great. But some of these kids don't get this chance again. So I'm so happy that these kids get to play this year, and hopefully the tournament all goes well. The Super Bowl sometimes, last few years, isn't always good. It doesn't live up to the hype. World Series, NBA final, sometimes they're not. Dude, March Madness always lives up to the hype. It's always good every year. We're going to see. We saw a great game already tonight. I mean, so the NBA. I'm so glad that the NBA might not be great every night, but March Madness is always great, and it's so big to the kids and the coaches and the people that went to those schools. It's so big to them. I'm so glad that we're getting March Madness back this year. There's a story that Jimmy Valvano told just about how psycho people are about basketball. And he said when he got the job at North Carolina State, that they told him, hey, you better win some games. We'll kill your dog. Like, we mean it. Like, we're serious about it down here. He said that he's like, who cares? I don't even have a dog. So he's this season, and it's kind of tough to get going. He's playing in the ACC, and it's a vicious conference. And he said they make it to Christmas, not doing that well. He's just kind of holding on for dear life. And he said they get a package at the door, and his kids go and open it, and it's this beautiful little golden lab puppy. And he opens the letter in it, and it says, "Hey, coach, don't get too close." So big people that are in it, and I'm excited for March Madness. I hope it's a great tournament. I hope everyone stays healthy. Thank you guys very much for having me back. It's fun to hang out with you guys.
44-33 Michigan State at halftime.
Spartans are going to be loaded.
Guys, I promised at the beginning of the year that I would end the show on time. Right now, it's March 18th, and
unrealistic expectation, James. Unrealistic, my friend.
I have yet to do so.
You set yourself up for failure.
It's all relative.
Adjust and adapt. Adjust and adapt. That's all. And you're on the West Coast. It's only like 8:15 or something, right? What are we talking about?
Oh yeah. I mean,
you're fine.
I'm fine. Like you said, it's some of I realize that some of you guys might not be fine. Clint, you're probably all right. Your wife is in a book club, but I know how women get. Are you still on that damn show? I hear it too. So but anyway, guys, hey, always having fun. I'll see everybody next Thursday. Absolutely. Have a great weekend, and let's see how your selections turn out. I'll ask you next week how you're doing. So have a great weekend, everyone.
All right, guys.
I'll talk to you next week.
Sounds good.
Have a great week.